Every other great ape on Earth is covered in thick fur. You are not. And yet, hiding in your skin right now, there is one thing you kept. Something ancient. Something that the fur was built around. And it never left. To understand what you kept, we need to understand what you lost. And why? About 6 million years ago, our ancestors split from the lineage that became chimpanzees. Both sides were furry. Both were built for trees. Then something shifted in Africa. The forests began to shrink. Our ancestors were forced out into open grasslands. Flat, hot, exposed. And that sun became a problem. A very serious, potentially fatal problem. Fur is actually great insulation. It keeps heat out in dry desert environments. But when you are moving, running, hunting, covering miles of ground, fur becomes a trap. Your body generates enormous heat when you move. That heat has to go somewhere. For most animals, panting is the solution. Dogs do it. Lions do it. But panting has a hard ceiling. It can only cool you down so much, so fast. Humans evolved a completely different system. One that is frankly extraordinary. Sweating. Not a little sweating. Radical, whole-body sweating. Humans have somewhere between 2 and 5 million eccrine sweat glands covering the entire body. Most mammals have very few, mostly on their paws. But sweating only works if the sweat can actually evaporate. And evaporation is blocked by one thing: fur. So the fur had to go. It was slowing us down, literally cooking us alive. Researchers believe this happened somewhere between 1.2 and 1.7 million years ago, around the time of Homo erectus, the first human ancestor built to run long distances. The evidence for this comes from an unlikely place: lice. Human lice evolved into two species at a very specific point in time: head lice and body lice, which need clothing to survive. Body lice only appeared about 100,000 years ago, meaning that's when we started wearing clothes, which means we'd been naked and surviving for over 1 million years before that. But here's the part that gets strange. We lost the fur. We kept the follicles. Every single spot on your body that once grew thick fur still has a follicle. It still grows something, just something almost invisible. These are called vellus hairs, peach fuzz, the ghost of your fur coat. And they are not vestigial in the way we usually think. They still do things. But the one thing the follicle kept, really kept, is the arrector pili muscle. That is the trait, the one you kept, hiding in plain sight. You have felt it your entire life. You just never thought about what it meant. Goosebumps, the arrector pili muscle contracts, the follicle pulls tight, the hair stands up. In an animal with thick fur, this is powerful. It makes the animal look bigger, more threatening. It also traps an insulating layer of warm air between the hairs and the cold. For us, it does almost nothing useful. Our hairs are too small. We get goosebumps. The fur they were built for no longer exists. This is what biologists call a vestigial trait, a leftover from your evolutionary past, like your tailbone, or your wisdom teeth, or your third eyelid in the corner of your eye. But here's where it gets more interesting. Goosebumps are not purely vestigial. In 2020, researchers at Harvard made a discovery about arrector pili muscles. They found that the arrector pili muscle is directly connected to stem cells inside the hair follicle. These stem cells are responsible for regrowing the hair, for regenerating the follicle itself. The muscle isn't just making your hair stand up, it's feeding those stem cells signals to survive. Without the muscle pulling on them periodically, the stem cells go dormant. The follicle dies. This is one of the leading theories for why we go bald. The muscle weakens, the stem cells starve. So the arrector pili muscle, the thing that gives you goosebumps, may be the key to hair loss research. Not vestigial at all, still doing essential work, just not the work it was designed for. But the goosebump response itself, that cold fear reflex, why does it still fire? Cold is one trigger. Your nervous system detects a temperature drop. It sends a signal through the sympathetic nervous system, the same system behind fight or flight. The adrenal glands release norepinephrine. The arrector muscles contract. Goosebumps form. Fear triggers the exact same pathway, which is why horror movies give you goosebumps. In our ancestors, that fear response would have bristled thick fur, made them look enormous. Today you get the muscle twitch. You get the bumps, but no fur to show for it. There is also a third goosebump trigger, and this one is the most interesting of all. Music. Awe. Beauty. A sudden moment of unexpected meaning. Scientists call this piloerection in response to emotional stimuli. Ordinary people call it the chills. Or frisson, a French word meaning a brief, intense shiver of emotion. Not everyone experiences frisson. Studies suggest only about 50% of people feel it. Those who do tend to score higher on openness to experience, a core personality trait. Their brains show stronger connections between auditory cortex and the emotional centers. They literally feel music differently. Their nervous systems are wired differently. And when that wave of awe hits, the same ancient reflex fires, the same muscle contracts. A muscle that evolved to make fur stand up on a terrified ape is now responding to Beethoven. That is an extraordinary thing to sit with for a moment. Now, what happened to the rest of the fur? Why did we keep hair on our heads? The head is directly exposed to the sun. For an upright walking animal, it takes the most UV radiation. Head hair protects the brain from overheating. It stayed because it still serves a real purpose. Pubic and underarm hair is a different story. Researchers still debate its exact function. One theory, it holds pheromone-producing chemicals, dispersing them into the air. Another theory, it reduces skin friction in areas that experience constant movement. Eyebrows kept their fur for a very specific reason. Communication. Humans are deeply social animals. Micro-expressions of the face evolved as a social language. Studies show people have more difficulty recognizing faces without eyebrows than without eyes. That is how important eyebrows are to human social identity. They stayed because they were critical. Now let's go back to the skin itself. What else changed when the fur left? When fur disappeared, skin was suddenly exposed to the sun for the first time. UV radiation destroys folate, a B vitamin critical for fetal development. So natural selection rapidly favored darker skin, more melanin, to block that UV damage. The original skin color of early Homo sapiens in Africa was very dark. That is the ancestral state. Lighter skin evolved later as humans migrated north, where UV was lower and vitamin D synthesis mattered more. All of this, the sweat, the melanin, the follicles, happened because of that one move, out of the forest. The loss of fur was not a loss, it was a transformation. It allowed persistence hunting, chasing prey across miles until it collapsed from heat exhaustion. No claws, no fangs, no speed, just the ability to not overheat when everything else does. Humans are among the best endurance runners on the planet. This is why, and tucked into that entire story, that survival story, is the arrector pili muscle. It came along for the ride. It never got the memo that the fur was gone. Evolution does not delete things that aren't actively harmful, it just moves on. And so you carry it. Every single person you have ever met carries it. Every moment of cold, every surge of fear, every piece of music that breaks something open in you, that ancient muscle fires, the same one that made your ancestor look twice as large to a predator. Your body still thinks it has fur. It has been waiting for it to come back for 1,000,000 years. There is something quietly unsettling about that. You are not just a modern human, you are a mosaic of solutions to problems your ancestors faced. Some of those solutions are elegant. Some are leftover scaffolding from a building that was renovated. And some, like the arrector pili, quietly found a new job while nobody was looking. Connecting stem cells, maintaining follicles, keeping the system running. The next time you feel a chill run through you, pause. You are not just reacting to the cold. You are running a reflex that is at least 1,000,000 years old. A reflex your great-great-grandmother's great-great-grandmother felt in the grass outside the forest. Built for fur. Kept without it. Still firing inside you right now. Quietly. Constantly. In every person. In every moment. That is the trait you kept. The muscle nobody talks about. The reflex with no reason left. Except, it turns out, several. Evolution is not a march toward perfection. It is a negotiation with time, and sometimes what you negotiate away turns out to be less gone than you thought. We lost the fur. We kept the machine that ran it. And that machine may be the key to understanding hair loss for millions of people alive today. The answer to a modern problem buried in a 1 million-year-old reflex. That is the kind of thing that makes the human body feel a little less like a finished product and a little more like a work in progress. Which, technically, it is. You are not the end of the line. You are a draft, a very successful draft, but still a draft. Carrying old code, running old programs, and occasionally getting goosebumps for no visible reason. Because somewhere inside your nervous system, the forest is still out there, and the predator is still close. And your body still knows. It always knew. There is one more layer to this worth sitting with before we go. Why did evolution not simply remove the arrector pili muscle entirely if the fur was gone? Because removing a structure costs energy too. Building a new developmental pathway, suppressing old genes. Evolution only removes things under strong, consistent, selective pressure to do so. The arrector pili was never harmful enough to be selected against. So it stayed. This is called genetic drift's interaction with purifying selection, a concept that reshapes how we see vestigial traits. Not every leftover is truly useless. Some are waiting to be reassigned. Some already have been. The field of evolutionary medicine is built on this idea, studying what evolution kept to understand why. Your appendix was long called useless. We now know it likely helps reseed gut bacteria after illness. The plica semilunaris, that little fold in the corner of your eye, may help clear debris from the eye surface. We have spent centuries calling these things junk, and they keep proving us wrong. Your body is older than your species. It carries chapters from every ancestor that lived before you. Some of those chapters are written in DNA you cannot even read yet. And one of them, a tiny muscle, barely 2 millimeters long, still fires every time you feel the cold. Every time something frightens you. Every time something moves you. It fires, quietly, reliably, without asking permission. The question of what we are, biologically, is stranger than most of us realize. We are hairless apes who have convinced ourselves we are something else entirely, and buried in our skin, the evidence waits. Patient, ancient, unmistakably real. The arrector pili muscle, the muscle beneath the goosebump, the trait that never left. Now you know it's there, and you will feel it differently from this point forward. That's all. You can go back to pretending you're not an ape now. Just a remarkably sweaty, upright, music-loving one, with a 2 millimeter muscle in your skin that remembers everything. Everything.